ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming to the Masonic Temple. I'm proud to introduce, from Honduras, Dr. Sebi. Dr. Sebi is a world-renowned healer, and he's come here today to give us his greatest gift. So give him a round of applause. Let's give him one more round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, the nigger is here. And do you know why I'm here? It's because of you. You see, you made me. And you didn't even know it. You made me. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and listen to your brother. Because I want you to know that your presence today let me know that I am supposed to behave accordingly. Because you're showing me your love and your respect for the entity, to our ancestors. I love you. I came to America in 1954. I stepped off of the banana boat with a pair of tennis, white pants, white shirt. Never been to school. The boy was 20, 21. You helped me to be what I am. Now, how are we going to connect the dots with the continent from which we were severed? How are we going to connect the dots? We have to. Because never in the history of the black race has we been sick as we are now. In and out of Africa, we are sick. We are so sick that we can't even find a reason why we should come together. And you know something? It's in place. It's right in place. Because you do not feed the food of a gorilla to a polar bear and vice versa. If you feed the food of a polar bear to a gorilla, he too would be confused like we are, because he wasn't designed for that food. His cellular predisposition is not designed to eat meat. Who told us to eat meat? Who did that? The continent of Africa didn't have any cows, and they didn't have any lamb. They didn't have any goats, chicken, or hogs. They didn't have any rice and beans and potatoes and yams and wheat. What did they eat? the anthropologists, the archaeologists, the paleontologists, and the scholars. They did not write about that. They write about wisdom. Well, I never knew what that was, and I'm 81 years of age. They talk about knowledge. I still don't know what that is. But you know what they didn't write in their manuals, and their books? What we, not you, we were supposed to put in our mouth. They never wrote about that. Why? They didn't write about it because they too were suffering with the same disease that we all are suffering with. The mucus that I told the Supreme Court that represent the one disease is affecting our brain. It's affecting our brain so much so that when I went to the continent the first time many years ago, they asked me for a passport. And I asked the man at the immigration entrance, why do you want to ask me for a passport when this is the continent from which I was suffering? I need a passport to come back home. Could you imagine how sick we are? You see, we need healing. I need healing. So now let's go back into the pages of history. What the anthropologists and the historians write about, what the scholars dismiss. Whenever nature creates something, that something has to follow a rule, a law. You will not find penguins in the desert. You will not find polar bears in the desert. He could only live in the cold. But you would never find a gorilla in the snow. That is not his home. He has to obey that law, that cosmic arrangement. It is like the little frog in Puerto Rico. Cookie? 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 That frog sing you to sleep. But if you remove that frog from Puerto Rico, 9 kilometers away to Beckford, the frog dies. Because you have interfered. You have interfered with the cosmic arrangement of that frog. The frog was not placed in Beckford. Black people were not placed in America. We were placed in Africa. But with that African placement, there was a mandate. Yeah, there was a mandate. Black people, well, let me begin the process of showing what Mama was about. I happened to be in Brazil 7 years ago. And there was a conversation with a Mexican and a Frenchman. The Mexican was telling the Frenchman, you shut your mouth. We Mexicans make tequila. You Frenchmen don't make no tequila. We are the man. And the Frenchman started laughing and said, you forgot who made champagne. So all of us started laughing because we know that the Frenchman won the argument. So the Mexican said, and what about you, Sebi? What do you have to say about your people? Well, I have a little bit. So the Russian Mladenov said, you better watch what you say about your people. I said, why Mladenov? Because your mama didn't have no clothes on 500 years ago. My mama didn't have no clothes on. I looked at Raul, the Mexican, and said, Raul, did you ever Mladenov said? He said, yeah, that your mama didn't have any clothes on 500 years ago. And the Frenchman said, why don't you defend her? I have to defend my mama. He just did. But he didn't know it. You see, it's a matter of interpretation. The Frenchman, the Russian said, my mama didn't have any clothes on. He had no idea what he was doing. I said, rather no. Why did you, of all the items that mama didn't have, you stopped at her clothes? But as for her clothes, you mean to tell me that my mama didn't have no clothes on and walked the jungles of Africa for millions of years among her brothers and sisters and friends? Nobody was jumping on her? I said, right enough, she just messed up. You were showing us that mama lived in a highly ethical society, a highly moral, that she could walk around without no clothes, and nobody was jumping on her. What kind of folks was living then? And if you want to know where the brain were, you take your clothes off during the summer and you walk the streets of Brooklyn and see what's going to happen to you. We begin to see that the contradiction that we have accepted is to be the very thing that caused our demise. Mama, the most powerful of all the genders of the gender. Mama, to tell you and I that the lion is the king of the jungle? Oh yeah. Who teach him what he knows? Who teach the lion what he knows? His mama, isn't it? Because you never saw a cub in the forest following daddy. Never would you find a cub following daddy. He followed mama, because she and she alone have the secret of life, how to raise a child, not a daddy. I am a daddy many, many, many times. I never tell my children anything about one now. Since I was here, my 34 years old son, I haven't seen him in some time. I never beat Sisa. I never tell Sisa anything. So now, we come back to mama. Mladeloff said she didn't have any clothes on. She didn't have any clothes. She didn't have any doctors. She didn't have any medicine. She didn't have any hospital. But she didn't have any disease. You know why I know that mama didn't have any disease? It's simple. It's very simple. That's why I know that she should not have been looked at and categorized as a savage. Because she lived in an alkaline world. And it is alkalinity that brings about tranquility. Mama didn't need a hospital. She lived in an alkaline world. And it is mama that prepared me for this journey. How? How does she connect the dots? Very simple. Mama didn't have any money. She didn't have any alcohol. She didn't have any prostitution. She didn't have anything that we have today in the civilized world. Mama lived connected to the laws of life. She couldn't make any mistakes because she didn't read any books. I have not read any books. My son is 34 years of age. He didn't see daddy reading a book, save the books on herbology, and I read those to find that they were loaded with inconsistencies, all of them. Every book that has been written on herbology is a lie. If they were true, you wouldn't be here today. You were here because you heard that Dr. Sebi cured the diseases that hasn't been cured. Of course, I set out to do that for you. I'm doing it for you, and doing it for me. I was a steam engineer making a lot of money, but I wasn't satisfied because a Mexican had healed me. And I know that healing could be attained, that we could receive healing, that healing was true. But all the herbalists in America was reading these books that came out of Europe, and they were giving you golden seal, and they were giving you peppermint, and they were giving you echinacea, and they were giving you golden seal, and not to mention aloe vera, and noni, and moringa. They give you all that. You know why they did that to you? Because you had both eyes closed, and they had one eye open. For that is taking advantage of an individual. You don't do that. You respect your family. Yes, you do. You respect your family. So the only reason why you may have offered them these poisons, either of ignorance or I just don't care. Well, no, we're not going to do that. The time has come that the elasticity is about the power. Look at Africa. Africa is loaded with disease. Ebola is not the disease of Africa. The disease of Africa is what? Malnutrition. They're suffering with a deficiency that all of us are suffering with. You understand? Like, let me break it down. Whenever I need to strengthen your bones, I go to a plant known as sea moss. Why? Because the active ingredient is calcium. When I want to nourish the blood, I go to the burdock, I go to the sarsaparilla, or I go to the other one which is known as encino. Because their active ingredient is iron. Whenever you talk about birds, what does birds eat? Seeds and fruits. Please don't tell that to an eagle. He eats meat. He will eat meat. He will eat you. But he's a bird. But if you leave that bird and go to another bird, like the lovebird and the quetzal from Guatemala, they eat seeds and fruits. Everything has a food designed for them. What is our food? Please don't look for it. Because our school teachers, our anthropologists, and our historians didn't write about that. So don't even look for it. And if we are not eating the food that is consistent with our cellular predisposition or our DNA, we are crazy. We are out of our mind, and I'm one of them. I'm one of you. You think I wasn't born sick? I was born with asthma. I was born with bronchitis. A baby is born sick. Yes, a baby is born sick. Mama, what did you eat with Daddy before you went to bed that night to make me? Well, one day we eat crabs, the other day we eat lobster, the other day we eat conch, the other day we eat shrimp, the other day we eat hog, the other we eat chicken and cow. And it's repeated in the cycle. The sperm that was injected into my mama 81 years ago, that is responsible for me today. You think that it was of the quality of my father in Africa 600 years ago? That it was not impregnated with blood or starch, which is acid? Come on now. You know we're sick. We are sick, but we cannot criticize ourselves because nobody is out of it. I'm in it with you, just as sick as you, and maybe even sicker. But to rectify that disease state is what we have for today. Not to criticize anyone. We are here to change it, to rectify it, and to bring back the love that existed a long time ago with us. Because we are still in love, but it has been umbrellaed or tempered with what? With rice and beans, hog-maws and chitlins. Yeah. And I was telling my son just now how I appreciate him, because for many years, since I used to hate to see me sneak and eat fish, I used to always catch me with it. And he didn't like that. But Daddy left that long time ago. But I still get the urge to want it though. Because that is the degree of the conditioning that we've been placed in. So I used cocaine once. I was going to Peru where I bought cocaine for $100 an ounce. I left that really quick, but it took me a long time before I left that rice and beans. Isn't that something? So now, brothers and sisters, Dr. Sebi, your brother, that came to New York, and you supported him. All of you supported Dr. Sebi. And I appreciate that, because when I was arrested because I put the ad in the newspaper that I cured AIDS, sickle cell, lupus, herpes, blindness, cancer, and others.